Hi. Are we here, Peter? Oh, hi. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so
we are not
excited.
just a show about broads today. We have a bro in the room.
A bro representing.
Woo woo.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Give it to us.
What am I doing?
It's a viral video sensation
on the radio.
Special.
Yeah.
On the radio. But, on YouTube as well. And we're also on Periscope because you know how I love to Periscope.
And that's why I'm going to have my back to the
Kim
camera.
gives me such a hard time for the Periscoping. Ladies first.
Yeah.
Jess.
Hi.
San Filippo.
You got
I want to
it.
say San Filippo.
It's like a party.
Well, you can. It
You
just
have
would
to
be wrong.
get close to your mic, become one with the mic.
Yeah, you got to hug it.
Because they make us hug it because we tend to go like this and then nobody can hear us. Your video,
Yes.
I Can't Get Some Peace.
Yes.
It's a parody of I Can't Feel My Face. I can't feel my face after I watch it because it's so funny.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have Mikki in the house. Oh my gosh, Mikki Willis.
That's right.
Your video is going everywhere, or is everywhere, with your son and his lovely Little Mermaid doll, which is clearly he likes redheads. So,
Clearly, yes.
Yeah, and he's cute. So
Or women with tails.
only with tails.
yeah.
All right, because we're redheads. But it's amazing. So we're so happy to have both of you here because you're just all over your internet sensations happening right now. So Kim had an interesting question. We were talking about this the other day. Do you go into, and this is just a casual jump all over each other, did you go into it like I'm going to make a viral video? Let's start with you, Mikki.
Not whatsoever.
No.
No, I've been releasing little 1 minute, 2 minute videos of me and my son, mostly on the way to school, since he was born, actually. We've been making little videos and putting them just on Facebook, just for my friends.
Right.
And this was the first video that suddenly I started to watch the numbers and we were like, what is happening? I have 5,000 friends, but 10,000 people have seen this.
Wait, why do you have
What's going on?
5,000 friends? I'm feeling a little friend envy. Let's just focus on that. Friend envy.
She just said she has friend envy because Kim will meet somebody. We'll be out and we'll meet somebody, and then she'll get a friend request. She's like, "We just met. We don't have to be Facebook friends." So maybe
Clearly, Mikki does that.
So that's why Kim doesn't have that many friends.
That's funny.
But so you saw that people were sharing and
Saw that it was going definitely beyond my reach, and then suddenly it was on BuzzFeed and these major news outlets, and it was pretty much a shock.
Well, it's interesting. I went back and
put people into what the video is.
Okay. So, Mikki, why don't you tell us, and so I don't paraphrase for you.
Well, okay, so my son received 2 identical toys for his birthday, and so I said, let's go back to the toy store, a little local toy store in Ojai where we live, and let's return the duplicate for something else. And so we went into the toy store, and I went straight to the counter and started to negotiate the deal with the guy because we didn't have a receipt to say, can we return this? And now Azai, my son, this store is split into the girls section to the left and boys to the right.
Right.
So after the guy said, yeah, sure, no problem, I turn around, I look, and Azai was nowhere in the boys section. So, first thought I had was, oh my God, did he run out? He's only 4 years old.
Right.
And I yelled his name, and it came from the other side. So I go over there, and he's standing in front of this display of Barbies. And he goes, I want this. And I go, I don't have any issue with that at all. But I did stop for a minute and had to consider, because we've been aware of not wanting to teach. We have 2 boys, not wanting to have them imprinted with the idea that all women should look like a Barbie.
Right.
So
Right.
I looked, and there was no variation of skin color or size or type. So I go, well, do you want to look around, buddy, and see maybe if there's another, something else? And, I kind of pointed towards another doll section that had a little more versatility. And he goes, I want that mermaid right there. And so I said, okay, get it. And everything was fine, but then we went out to have lunch, and 2 women noticed that it was a boy playing with this doll. He was absolutely, incredibly intrigued by it. He just got it. And they kind of shook their head and rolled their eyes. And so when we were done with lunch,
And this is in California even.
Well, this is in Ojai.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
Must have been tourists. And so when we got into the car, I was just inspired, and I turned my camera on to basically tell my sons that I am there to love them unconditionally, no matter what they choose in life, no matter what direction their life goes into, to be honest, and that I will love them no matter what.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just,
His
my
face
declaration
in that
to my
video,
sons.
Priceless. Yeah.
He's so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
He's so happy.
Yeah.
And we were talking before the show that I have a daughter who is the same. She just breaks down, those gender stereotypes. I mean, she's got a faux hawk right now, and she wears what she wants to wear, and the button-down shirts from her brother, she'll steal them, and I'll be honest, I struggled I didn't grow up in Ojai. I didn't grow up so I struggled at first, and I've come to this place, my journey has taken me here, but there's no better look on a child's face when they feel that their parent sees them for who they are. I've
So true.
never
Yeah.
experienced anything like that
Wait.
I have in her face.
You updated because I did my little research, but on your website, Elevate, right? It's Elevate.
Elevate.us,
Okay,
yeah.
so you're a filmmaker. We can talk about that a little bit later. But on your website, you did a little update about the videos, about the emails that you've received and the letters, and you wrote something. I don't want to ruin my own quote, but you said, people are crying out for the freedom to be whom and what they were born to be. The human spirit can no longer be contained. And I love that because you said it was a common thread throughout all of the responses that you received. And I think that people forget that message. So it kind of speaks to what Jackie's saying about, just the elation that a child feels when you've accepted them. And I love that message started so young with your boys.
Yeah,
and
thank
were
you.
you surprised that people had that reaction to it?
I was totally surprised. It didn't surprise me that this wouldn't be a subject that people would care about, but I didn't know that it was so global. I've received messages in different languages and from all over the world, and the video's now been translated into 6 or 7 different languages. And all of these messages, which we just started going through this past week, it's amazing. I have 65-year-old men saying, thank you so much. I wanted to dance ballet when I was a child, and my father basically said he would disown me if I did. Mm-hmm. And so I started, he's 67, he said, I started ballet at 65.
Oh,
That's fantastic.
All these beautiful stories of people saying, this has nothing to do with our gender or anything. It's what we want to express with our life, and if that is suppressed, other things happen in its place. Mm-hmm. I always say suppression breeds rebellion and depression. Mm-hmm. Because if we're not given that space, and I think a lot of people get very confused with that too, because they watch my video and they go, "Oh, you're just going to let your kids choose to play in traffic or whatever they want, whatever they choose to do." And
I got the same types of comments with my
Yeah.
daughter's hair, a few years ago, and it was like, "What, you going to let her run the house?" I was like, how do you teach a child, it's a little bit separate, but how do you teach a girl to own her body and to not be abused or
That's right.
sexually taken advantage of when I won't even let her be in charge of her own hair?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
with your boys, it's like, what, they might be good dads or they may be,
Yeah.
we're teaching them nurturing and to,
Right.
feed their spirits. And I love that the juxtaposition of these two videos, though, because yours is like, the acceptance is yours is like, get out of my house. Which parents can relate to both.
Right. I know I'm sitting here, I'm listening to Mikki, and I'm like smiling, and I'm nodding. I'm like, just so, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I was sick of my kid at the end of summer.
Choose to leave.
But we can all relate to that too. I mean, we
Right.
need a break. But so you're listening to the song one day on the radio, and you're like singing other lyrics. Like, how did this all
Right.
happen?
So one day on the radio is kind of like an understatement because that song plays like
Oh my
5
gosh,
times
I
an
can't feel
hour.
my
I love
face.
that song still.
I can't feel my
So,
ears after.
yeah. So, I had heard it a bunch, and I was just listening to the lyrics and things like that. And I went, for some reason, at the tail end of summer, I mean, most parents can agree, especially if you've had that taste of like your kid is in full day school,
Right.
and they're out of that house. And I personally work from home, so I do everything that I do from home. So it makes it a little challenging
Yes.
when the balance becomes a little trickier. So he was home, and by working from home, I also afford myself the opportunity to amend my work schedule when he's out of school.
Right.
And I get to shift when I'm working and when I'm not working, and I'm not as tethered to, a 9 to 5 schedule.
Right.
So as a result of that, it meant I neglected a lot of things. I neglected binge watching ridiculous television.
Twinkie eating. I love that.
Twinkies and dusting, because, a sparkly baseboard is much less important than, a pillow fort in the living room for a week.
Right.
So, I heard that song and I was like taking stock of everything, it comes to the end and it all becomes cumbersome.
Right.
What you have to do, eating Twinkies is a lot of hard work. So
Do they still? They went off the market. Are they back on?
and
She
I'll
saved
say-
hers from 20 years ago. They're
I
still
know,
good.
they hold up real well. No, I actually went to Target and that was the last box on the shelf. So
Really?
I think that they're rationed, but I ate one and threw the rest away. Shh.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wow.
I did. But yeah, so for me, and what's interesting is, I've received an immense amount of positive feedback. So positivity, I think we share that.
Right.
Though our messages are slightly different.
A little bit.
You didn't want to contain your human spirit. That's what this is about.
Right,
So
right.
we're
Exactly.
good. Yeah.
So,
Good one, Kim.
I got it.
yeah. So
I'm all about the roundabouts here. Yeah. That's all I'm good for.
So the whole essence too of like how I wrote it, and if you really pay attention to the lyrics, it's less about, oh my God, my kid's driving me crazy, get out of my hair.
Right.
And it's more about, wow, look how much I can do with, but how much I can have of so many different things with a kid, and I can do this and I can split my time between both and I can have my interests and I can have that time with my child. And it was just kind of like a fun, more about me and reveling in all of the great stuff I can do on both sides, with my kid and without my kid,
Right.
than, dear God, please leave
Right.
me
There was
alone.
nothing negative about it, but did
Yeah.
both of you though? It hasn't been all sunshine and unicorns or double rainbows. See what I did there? It's coming up later.
Irony.
But there has been some negative. I saw one comment from you, Mikki, that somebody said like I'd kill myself or I'd kill my son if.
Yeah, and there was actually.
And then you actually responded to that person.
I did, yeah. And
Good.
there was another person, a very conservative Christian, who put out a video, a rant video, where he said, "You want to teach your kids, you got to put a gun in their hand and teach them how to shoot a gun." And he put a gun in his 7-year-old son's hand.
Yeah.
And I wrote him back too, and everybody I wrote back and just said, "Let's have an adult dialogue about this. Let's not trash each other. You're different. I'm different than
Right.
you. I'll never agree
Right,
with you. You'll
right.
never agree with me. But is there some place where we can dialogue about this?" And CBS saw that and had us both on the Doctor Show.
Right.
So that actually airs on the 24th of me and the conservative Christian.
Wow.
But were
dealing with
you
this.
said one of the things that
So
you
we
said,
had you first.
one of the things that you said, you were surprised that people were frustrated or upset that you used the word sexuality with in front of your kid. So tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Well, first of all, I had to go in myself and to really dig into what is the definition of the word sexuality, because some people were saying you can't tell your kids they can choose what sex they want to be at that age. You're going to confuse them, and the definition of sexuality is a person's capacity for sexual feelings. And so, in essence, what I was saying was, to the future of my boys, because we say a
Right.
lot of things to babies, right? We ask them, we talk to newborn babies
Right.
when we know they can understand
Right,
what
right.
we're saying, right?
Right.
But it was me talking to my sons and letting them know, making a vow to myself as much as to them, that when they get old enough to have those things, and I think it comes a lot sooner than parents probably want to admit. They start realizing that they're sexual beings and
Right.
that they were born to procreate, and that things
Right.
start happening in their little bodies. And so my wife and I are very open to have these discussions whenever it arises, and not waiting until they're 16 or whatever it is.
Too late.
It's too late. Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of people did respond very confused that you shouldn't be mentioning that word. And for me, it's like, I think we're way too suppressed around the subject itself of sexuality, that we can't mention that in front of a child because it's a very natural thing, but I think we've all been so programmed to think that it's a dirty thing.
Right.
And for me, I know growing up as a young boy and having my friends that weren't educated, you know, they turn to pornography to learn about sex and chivalry.
Right.
And that's not the best place to get it.
No.
I do counseling with teenagers, and what's one of the things that we talk about with our parents is that we're very open about our conversations about drug, alcohol, you know, sex, whatever it is, because the more you talk about it, the less stigma that gets attached and the more education and good choices that come with it. But there are people that reject that completely, because if you talk about sex, you give kids permission to go have it. If you talk about suicide, you're telling a kid to go do it. So there's this real need to break down, you know, conversations around things that kids are already thinking about anyway. And if you don't talk about it, then, like you said, they go to the internet, they'd find, you know, unfortunate or unnecessary places to get their information, and they make bad choices.
Or they get it from friends who are getting a totally different message from their
and don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm all about that, but I know that people were frustrated with sexuality, and I don't know that, you know, that's ever going to change. I think people are just, that's inbred in some people, and that's unfortunate, but I love the dialogue that keeps happening.
Right. And I love that, you know, because there are a lot of people who are liberal-minded and you know, whether it's gay marriage and gender and all of that.
Wow.
I know, I just got a message to stay close to the mic. It threw me off for a second. But, you know, I do notice, though, and I'm very, very socially liberal, that a lot of people who feel the same way are so combative to Christians. They're so, you know, you're closed-minded and you're this and you're that, and you know, and the talk about the politics and the Republic. Like, I just love that you didn't do that. You didn't bash them because they didn't agree with you, because the whole point of this is that they may not agree with your choices as a parent or your son's choices in what he likes. But let's be respectful and let's have a conversation, and not let's just trash each other on the internet.
Yeah.
So if we could do more of that, like, I think that you, especially with so much attention on this, thank you for blazing this trail that there can be a conversation and not just this, like, Ann Coulter, you know, I'm trying to think of somebody equally as, you know, repulsive on the other side. Like,
thank you, because that really did become, you know, we've all been witnessing right now the polar opposites of the Bernie Sanders and the Donald Trumps, right? Rising to the surface here of having two entirely different languages.
Right.
And so I have seen this as a catalyst, as an opportunity to say, when do we start finding a language where we can totally disagree, but not be at war? Like, it's in there, it's in us to have that. So what is it? And that's become, for me, more important even than the topic of the video, is engaging with the people, the haters that come at me, and there have been several.
Yeah.
You know, just to say, okay, look, I'm not angry, and I'm going to take that, but I want to learn more about where you come from. And I've made friends with most of them. And some of them have posted our private messages to say, I want you to know what's happened on the back end here that the public isn't aware of, that we're actually engaged in this awesome dialogue now.
Yeah, that, you know, that happened to me last year. I had a bunch of haters coming at me for something, and I was like left most of them at the wayside, and then a couple of them I engaged in because I felt like there was a moment that I could flip them. And I had this great dialogue, and then they're like, I'm so sorry that I came at you. And I'm like, yes. And I wanted, because people, you know, they're sharp tongued and people just react without having all the information. And I love that, you know, especially with Mikki's, and I don't want to alienate you, Jesse, with Mikki's video, you know, people glommed on to the gender issue. And I love that the backstory was that you didn't want to sexualize women, and that you didn't want to teach that. And nobody knows that, you know, that didn't come out in your video because no one took the time to read and to research and be obsessive and stalkery like I was. So,
and you should not listen to last week's episode, because we totally did not call you hot.
Awkward. Anyway, so, you know, and that's usually what happens to people. They don't know beyond the snippet. And, you know, I lost my train of thought now, Jackie. Thanks a lot.
But it's, you know, and so you got some negative too, though.
I did.
You're a terrible mother.
I'm just a bad mom. And, you know, like I was saying earlier, the positive has so insanely, and kind of to the shock of a lot of people I know that have been around the YouTube culture for a while and have seen the trends of virality and the instances of it, that most of it was positive, and the negative that did come was just like Mikki. I engaged them, and I engaged them in a way where, you know, I said what I said, and I didn't make any sort of baseless assumptions, which were clear that were being made to me and the piece that I'd made. And at the end of every one, I thanked them for allowing me to share my side and for them sharing theirs.
Wow.
So.
I mean, that's what it is,
Awesome.
because I think people put the videos out there and it's a one-way street. It's like, here's my video, you can have your comments, but I'm not going to engage. I'm not going,
Right.
and I know we have to go to break, but when we come back too, we want to talk about that woman who did the Dear Fat People video and the backlash against that.
Yeah.
But you're listening to Broadscast, and we will be right back. Welcome back.
We stayed.
We stayed.
I always
We
like it
stayed.
when our guests stay after the break. That's a good sign.
I was heading for the door, but
Yeah,
I
we
know.
tackled her.
I
We took her
know.
We
out.
tripped her.
Right. So we are still here in studio with Mikki Willis and Jesse
Sanfilippo.
Sanfilippo. I want to say
like the
San Felipe.
Benedict
Yeah.
Cumberbatch of
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, no one knows how to say it.
But SHUGGILIPPO is her YouTube
What
channel.
is SHUGGILIPPO? What does that mean?
It's a made-up word. Surprise! Everyone's surprised. It
By
is-
next year, it's be trending.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a mashup of my last name and my husband's last name. We have different last names.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I
His
like
is
it.
Shug. Mine's Sanfilippo. We get
Oh,
it. Yeah.
There you go.
I like it.
So I always try to make it Filippo, like
know.
you're very.
Everyone tries to make it very zesty Italian. But
My wife and I tried to do something like that, and her last name is Salamanca and mine's Willis, and it turned out to be Willy Wonka. we didn't
you
go
might
with it.
come into some like hot water with that. But yeah.
Now, were you born Mickey? Michael?
Yeah, Mickey.
Michael. Mickey?
Mickey.
Really?
Yeah.
With the 2 Ks and everything?
With the 2 Ks, yeah. Early on, actually, my name was changed early on in my life, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. It's just it stands out. You could be one of those one name, Mickeys.
And I like it
Madonna.
because we're both I-end names.
Yeah.
I don't have an E at the end of my name, and I'm not a Jessica. So.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, see that? Your
Yeah.
parents are
So Jesse, where do you get your inspiration for your videos?
Oh gosh, everywhere. I'm very observational, so it's just
We're going to be in our next video.
Yeah, you guys. Hey, you guys, what are you doing next Wednesday? Yeah, I just kind of catch as catch can. I let the world around me really affect me, as hippy dippy as that sounds, but just kind of whatever strikes me.
And when you do your videos, are you contemplative about what people's reaction are going to be? Are you nervous about putting certain things in it in terms of
Never.
the message?
I started my channel January of 2014, and I don't think that one time I have ever created for the audience. I've always created for myself, which kind of makes it way more fun that way.
Yeah.
Doing so, obviously having awareness that anything I say or do isn't going to polarize people. I never want to be like a polar bear. I just kind of want to be fun and lighthearted and creative. And so I never create with what it's going to do or how it's going to perform or who it'll speak to or whatever. So it's very self-indulgent.
But it's nice. It's like it's entertaining and it's light and it's fun. And so you never click to you're never going to get the view. You know what I mean? Where it's
Right.
where you're talking about issues and bashing people and
Yeah.
you're just,
I
and
never wanna be a sensationalist,
My husband, who's
right.
doing our Periscope right now, is an editor and he thinks you cut it very well.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, husband. Thank you.
Jeffrey. So other viral videos that have been in the news lately, I don't even want to give her name because she's just...
I don't even remember her name.
Don't do it.
She did the Dear Fat People video. So she was just on The View the other day, supposedly defending herself. She was defending herself because I watched it last night and it was just a terribly awkward interview. But have you seen that video?
I have seen it.
What do you think? I mean, YouTube pulled her channel down. What do you think, first of all, of her video, and secondly, of that choice that YouTube made to pull it down?
Well, I feel it. I feel you have things to say. There were a lot of YouTubers, especially YouTube comedians I respect really, very, very well respected in my eyes, that made response videos, that some of them were not want to do such things, but they did, and one of them I agreed with a lot, that it was very reachy. It was very intentional. That, like I was saying earlier, like I don't ever create with the expectation of performance or things like that. But you could tell very much that that's exactly what she was doing.
Yeah. And she did.
And she did. And I mean,
For a really long time, it was a really long video.
Yes, for a long. I mean, I couldn't even make it through 15 seconds, and I was like, "This is rubbish. This is garbage, and this is totally meant to not do anything good. I don't care what the message is at the 6-minute mark, at the 15-second mark. It is not that, and you can't have such a vast contrast of messaging in one piece of something."
Right.
So for me, I mean, as a comedian, I like to pretend I can do the funny, you know. It was offensive that her claims out of the gate in response to the backlash were, well, I'm just a comedian. You're repressing comedy and humor.
Right.
And to me, it was like, there are plenty of people that can make jokes that don't just tear down other human beings. And that's what it was for me, was that it was to humans. It was to people.
Well, one of the things that Jackie and I talked about when we were discussing it was how quick YouTube was to pull down a video about that, but how eager they are to leave up videos of kids beating the crap out of each other, and all of the bystander videos that remain on YouTube that showcase violence against elders and families and kids, and that stuff we can find in a millisecond.
And you can find Donald Trump anywhere. But what I found the most offensive is that she calls herself a comedian.
Right.
Because she's totally not funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to actually be funny to back up that claim. That's like, I'm going to call myself a supermodel because
crickets.
I would believe it.
But Mikki, you have
Well,
some
it's
thoughts on this.
it's a big subject, because it's my world is media and film production and all of that, and I spent many years on the Hollywood side making anything that they threw at me, just trying to get a gig. And I had an experience. I was at the World Trade Center on 9/11, changed my life and changed my work a lot. So suddenly this thing that I wasn't focused on before, which was kind of a social responsibility, and then looking deeper into why is the world the way the world is right now. There's a lot of reasons for that. But one big reason is we've all, through generations, have been so hypnotized through the media to thinking that we have to look a certain way, be a certain way. People are listening, and people are spending trillions of dollars to have all of us in this consumer behavior such that we lose touch with really who and what we are, right? So when I see a video like this, she may be funny. I don't know, and I don't have any personal judgment on her. But I also think that we have to be careful. I'm an artist, so I understand why artists will say, don't put boundaries on it, and we all don't have to be socially responsible artists. But at the same time, we all live in this world together. And I've traveled around the world, and I've seen kids and indigenous children with T-shirts, like 50-cent T-shirts on, rapping lyrics to a rap song, and they don't even have access to television or electricity. So it's like we influence, what comes out of America particularly influences all of the world. And so when we talk about one thing in common that we all have, and that is, look, we all want to live in a world that works for everybody. We all really want that at the very root. So it just becomes a question for me, like, is creating likes and building your audience and all of that more important than what you're putting out and what you're saying? So for me, it's like, what are you saying when you actually get that attention? And if it's just venting and creating more anger and more separation and more fear and more judgments towards other people, why? Right. Why would you do that?
Right.
And if so, you have no right to complain about anything within your life, because you're part of the issue that's creating all of the separation and judgment of people. So I know that's heavy and serious, but that's what I ultimately about social responsibility of what we put out as artists, because now more than ever, whereas before there were like these iconic, Prince and Michael Jackson that the world was listening to, now people are listening to a kid in his bedroom with a webcam.
Yeah.
Right.
And 100 million people are listening to what this kid says. So I think it's time that we all start to say, well, then what are we saying?
But But I
the
also
people are
think, though, that
listening.
we're so quick in our society now, with Twitter being 140 characters, everything is Snapchatable, everything is broadcast no matter what you do or say. And I don't think that our younger generation take any responsibility behind that. I mean, the older people might, because we understand, the ramifications of things that we may say. But kids, again, having the work that I do with teens, they have no concept of the consequences of the things that they say or do, let alone post.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you start that conversation unless you do it at a younger age. I have completely panicked my kid from getting on social media because I have put the fear in him about the bad things that could happen. Mind you, he says, "Mom, are you going to put that on Facebook? Are you printing that?" I mean, he's very aware, but I don't want him to be involved in a situation that he's not responsible with his message. And so we're very careful. And Jackie and I, we are at polar opposites. Jackie is very good about the things that she posts and is very thoughtful. I am afraid of it. I'm afraid of being out there so much, and I'm very...
She says I'm in one ear and out to Twitter.
But because it's nerve-wracking, and people can mistake things that you say. And we, Jackie and I also talk a lot about the responsibility that role models have as our celebrities, and what they do with their message, and how irresponsible they can be also. And it worries me. I think that we're so quick to just put everything out there that we don't edit ourselves ever.
Right. But on a business side, she's a comedian, and comedians aren't successful if they're not selling their comedy. So tickets to a stand-up show or a CD or whatever it is she's doing. So you've just alienated such a wide audience.
Here's the unfortunate thing: she probably didn't, because a lot of America probably agreed with things that she said, but they won't say it. And that's the unfortunate part about our society too. There's a lot of people that feel what she feels.
They may feel it, but I don't know that they're buying tickets and going to see her.
They may. I mean, let's look at Andrew Dice Clay, right? But they have a very short shelf life. Those kind of comedians. They come out, they shock the world, they sell out arenas, and then they go away. And the ones with staying power usually have some degree of class. Right?
Or at least self-deprecation. So if they're going to, give someone a hard time, they kind of give themselves a hard time. There's something appealing about them.
Yeah.
They're not just bagging on everybody else.
Yeah.
And even Lisa Lampanelli, who was the worst, has evolved in her comedy. I think that a lot of comedians and producers, creators have evolved with the world.
Yeah, and my ultimate hope for her is that this, all of the impact that this video specifically had for her is a growing opportunity. That she has that moment of self-reflection, maybe I did come out very shock jock, but they're going to run my stuff overnight. They're not going to run it in the middle of the day when everyone's paying attention.
Right.
So, my hope for her, if comedy is a true career path and a true goal for her, is that she takes to always take the negative feedback,
right.
And in her case, it's very huge, and reflect with it, to sit with your criticism is always something that I tell to anybody who has a moment like this, or myself too. If I'm things went well, if they went well, you want to take those criticisms. If they went badly, you definitely want to take those criticisms.
Right.
And so,
well, I think it's going to take her a long time to get to that place of evolution, So there's also another comedian, because you mentioned your experience with 9/11. There's a comedian who had lied. I mean, I had never even heard his name before, and so
I already forgot his name.
Yeah, but and then I guess events proved that he was not actually there and came out. And that's not the first. I mean, look at Brian Williams and his, do you feel that when you are in the media, or you're trying to make a name for yourself, or, you're doing these videos, that who you are is not interesting enough, that we need to start making up stories to, because I guess that was his whole point, was that he was there and he had an epiphany and he changed his life and he went and followed his dreams as a comedian, but it's not a real story. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that one?
I feel what's interesting about the time we're in now, and the access we have to broadcasting ourselves, right? And creating that story or sharing the story of ourselves, is we are still very much in a generation that's used to TV and make believe and stories and things like that. And we see still the traditional outlets that prove something like this makes you popular, makes you interesting, makes you engaging, interesting, intriguing. And so we kind of sometimes can find ourselves pulling on those things. Well, this is what happened, and it might be great, and really genuinely it probably is great, because I think in a weird, the muddying comes with the understanding that we're all real people because of that access to broadcasting ourselves. So we have that true relatability,
Right.
but we're still holding on to what we've seen in the bigger spaces
Right.
as being what's compelling.
Right.
So sometimes we are tempted to add those elements into the story, and I don't know when that will shift. I don't, I hope soon.
Yeah.
I hope we can it's just all about being genuinely and honestly yourself, and sharing that and connecting on a human level, as opposed to attempting to have a celebrity level appeal.
I think reality TV has changed the way we perceive
Life.
reality.
Well, it's not reality.
because it's not
it's
real.
scripted.
Yeah.
And it's like I remember I used to be into
So
professional
we're blaming
wresling.
Hollywood, right? We're blaming Hollywood.
Always.
Okay.
That's the
I used to be into professional wrestling, not doing it, but like watching it. I was 13 years old. I loved it. It was fun. It was dramatic. And my dad was like, "It's not real. You know that, right?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." Like I would.
What is it? Wrestling?
Yeah, wrestling.
Oh, right.
And so it was at a time where people thought I was 13. So reality TV is the same way.
It is, and I actually have a story off of that, because I just finished directing a show that I guess it would be classified a reality show. It was a TV series called Breaking Band, not bad, but band. And it was where we have rock star legends mentoring YouTube sensations, right?
Cool.
And the common thread that we found, there's a moment when they sit down, they have kind of like an actor studio moment where they talk with the band.
Right.
And the common thread that all of the mentors shared with the new bands was the epiphany that they had at the moment when they realized that they were caught up in their own persona and being pushed by the industry to do things that were outside of their own natural behavior, that their advice was stay true to you, stay true to that inciting bit of inspiration that had you even want to be a musician. Never lose that for anything, never change yourself, stay true to that, and the best things will come from that. If you don't, then if you get caught up in the rock star,
Right.
trashing hotels and womanizing and all of this, they all said it's going to lead you to drugs, it's going to lead you to a very, very depressing life.
Well, when you're living in an inauthentic way, it's got to be a very lonely place.
Yeah.
So for rock stars, it's like they get on that stage and they have this, persona, like you were saying. If you start to believe that, you're
But I
not
think-
connecting from within.
But I think it goes back to our culture, though. I don't know that we're going to be able to unravel this mess, because people that stay true to themselves don't get the accolades, they don't get the attention, they don't, in the way comparing it to like the Kardashians. Like, well, look what. I know we don't talk about them here, but like we're a Kardashian-free zone.
Yes,
But using them as
that's actually our thing.
But using them as an example, bad behavior has made them billionaires. Good behavior gets criticized, gets scrutinized, and
But they get criticized just as much.
With how many-
but maybe that's the beauty of your video, Mikki, is that you're shifting, that one video, it's shifting. Your video, yes, we all, back to school and blah, 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 but it's fun. Like, if we can push more of this type of stuff, like you see that we don't have that comedian here, who did the Dear Fat People. We don't have that. We want to celebrate and to discuss ways that we can entertain each other, inform each other, maybe open some minds. I think that it's really important that we keep sharing things like that and not keep
Agree.
sharing.
But I totally agree with you, but I guess I'm going back to the whole concept of like sex sells, and I'm not supporting that, but that is a belief, right?
Yes.
And so
Well, it's true.
when you're more reserved, when you don't do certain things that reach the exploitive capitalist, not capitalist, capitalizing on certain topics, then you don't hit the same numbers.
Well,
Look at your
19
videos,
kids
like
and counting though, like that. It's a bad example because I think it's not necessarily all that authentic, but their lifestyle is different. People just like a freak show. they like something that's interesting, that's outrageous. Maybe, I don't know.
I guess.
And just just to make a point on what you're saying, where if you're collected and you're just doing good things and whatever, that you don't reach the successes. How many more billionaires are there that we don't know, that we don't see on TV? So
Yeah.
so it's possible
Right.
to achieve those successes, and
just looks
I
different.
think with what Mikki did with his video, and I guess in some shrivel of a way in comparison what I did with mine, is we're starting that revolution.
Yeah.
To bring attention to just the commonality of humanity, as opposed to the crazy wild sex video of humanity,
Right.
that sort of thing. So I think that it'll take time,
Right. And that's why there are a lot of, websites and like your Upworthies of the world. Like there is a shift, I think, for some people. But we have to take a break. What time? I don't even know what time it is.
It's 10:45, and I think Mikki
oh my
has-
gosh,
Mikki has to jam.
You have to
do.
jam. Thank
I
you
do.
so very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go to break. Mikki Willis, and where can people find you?
Elevate.us or Facebook /MIKKIWILLIS.
And then on the
Excellent.
Doctors on September 24th.
On the Doctors.
September 24th on the Doctors.
We will be tuning
Yeah.
in.
Thank you.
And when we come back, remember the double rainbow video? Like one of my all-time favorites? He'll be on the phone.
All right. Jesse, you're staying, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here.
I'll be
All
right
right.
back.
We'll be right back.
We're back with Broadcast with Jackie McDougal.
McDougal. Kim Goldman.
Yeah.
I don't have an accent for that.
No.
And Jess Sanfilippo.
Ay.
Philip.
That's not even, doesn't make any sense for me to respond that way, but I did.
You were happy that I said your name correctly?
I was elated.
SHUGGILIPPO. That's the place to go on YouTube.
It is.
So before all this, like this was, a few years back when a video went viral, it was a whole different ball game.
Totally.
You know what I mean? When Facebook was starting, and one of my all-time favorite videos was the double rainbow. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And so we have Bear, the double rainbow guy, on the phone. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Awesome.
I'm kind of geeking out. You'd think that like you're Robert De Niro or something. Like I love that video. I may have watched it out of the 40-something million times it's been watched. It maybe 20 million of mine. It just makes me happy. I think we go through life and we just get caught up in everything. And you just like you walked out and you saw a double rainbow and it just changed your whole day.
There's a video that I made as a response video to it called Double Rainbow Explained. And what the video is and like what has happened since is kind of proof that it's a video of God.
Oh.
That's why it's done what it's done. That's why there's songs written about it. That's why it's 5 years later, and I'm still all over the place.
Yeah, the auto tune of that, like I think I watched that 20 million times too. So but I know there's a video, but please tell our listeners, what was going on that day for you.
All right. Well, so I've been making that was my 200th video. I've been doing it for a while.
Wow.
And so I came to Yosemite in 1985 to live and work in the park, and then I married into the Yosemite Indian tribe, and I bought this land that I shot the video on in 1988 when I was 25 years old. Wow. And I hacked a farm out of the wilderness and started feeling like I was Noah because I have my own well, I have fruit trees, vegetable gardens, alternative energy. It started to feel like an ark. And the first time I wrote that, my house fills with color, and I turn on my camera, and that's the video.
Aww.
Right when I said I felt like I'm Noah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I walk, the beginning, the video starts when there's a tree in the way. Mm-hmm. By the time I get to where I could see the whole thing, it feels like a giant hand pushes me to the ground, and most people don't really understand, but I'm on the ground for like the last 2/3 of that video.
Right.
And I'm looking in the sky, and the rainbow looks like a giant eyeball. And I'm like, what could have an eye that big? And it's like, oh, I understand. God is right there in my front yard. So that's what's going on. That's why I keep saying, oh my God, and I'm saying, tell me what it means. Like, why is God visiting me? So, and
what does it mean?
As soon as I watched it, I knew it was going to be a viral video. I immediately uploaded it and sent it to everyone I knew and said, this is going to be a viral video. Send it to everyone you know.
Wow.
But it wasn't until Jimmy Kimmel got a hold of it, and then it was just like an explosion.
So we want to know how that video changed your life, but how did that moment change your life? Not the viral part of it, but just being in there, feeling like you're getting this message from somewhere.
Right.
Did it change your life at all?
99% of my life is exactly the same. I'm sitting on the couch I was sitting on when I shot the video. I still live here. I look at that mountain every day. I'm still working my farm, still growing stuff to eat. There's still volunteers from all over the world coming here. The thing that has changed is I do a lot of interviews. And then I'm on a lot of TV. I was just on the Late Late Show with James Corden, and they were celebrating YouTube's royalty.
Wow.
And they had me standing right next to him like I'm the king.
Well, thank you for making time for us.
Fun, and I travel to do I just finished doing a commercial for this thing called Society of Grown-Ups, and there's just offers almost every day to use my video. Google just asked to use it yesterday. I mean, it's just
wow.
It just keeps going 5 years later, and it's like never slowed down.
Well, it's just so universally appealing, and I just...
What do you think it is, though, that makes people share it so much and watch it and relate to it? What do you think? What was it about the video?
It's me understanding I'm in the presence of God, and people get to experience that through me. I basically open my soul and share it without any reservation or any fear, and no one does that. No one just opens themselves up because they're used to having other people around. But on my land, you can see for 100 miles and you can yell and no one will know. So it's like I'm used to having this complete freedom and privacy. Mm-hmm. And when I shot the video, no one was watching my video, so I had no clue that anyone was going to watch this. I'm just enjoying the moment and kind of just transfixed on this powerful rainbow that's right in front of me. Yeah, it's a universal thing because it strikes a chord in everyone. It's like it touches everyone because I'm just so open and honest, and I'm seeing something that's beautiful in nature.
Well, we were talking earlier in the show about how kids feel when they feel accepted, and when parents show them unconditional love and the elation that they feel. And that's how I felt watching you and listening to you, just I don't mean this in a negative way, the child in you was just so excited. It
was
so
very pure. Yep.
Yeah. And I wasn't even paying attention to the rainbow, quite honestly, but I was you, because your reaction to it was just authentic and so lovely.
It was joyful.
Yeah.
And how often in life do we just stop and be joyful in what is given to us? But it's also so quotable. I mean, I love to quote movies when Harry Met Sally or whatever, but there are times that my husband and I will be doing something and I'm like, so intense. It's just it's just that video.
I was touched by God, and when I was knocked down on the floor, I was touched by God, and God spoke to me and through me, and that's why there's so many songs written about it. That's not me. No one person can do what my video's done. It's not me. It's Spirit flowing through me. And the one thing that I tell people a lot is a double rainbow is a mirror of itself, and my video is a mirror for the person watching it. So whatever you see in the video, that's in you.
Wow.
And we're all speechless.
Yeah. So deep, Bear.
Way to shut the room down there, Bear.
We're all contemplating, which isn't really good for radio.
I know we all have these pensive nods. Yeah. But you can't see that.
Okay, where do we go now?
All over the world speaking about this thing. It's been 5 years, and it's it really floors people because it's so simple. It's just a rainbow. You don't even see me in it.
Right.
3.5 minutes of rainbow, and it's just flowing through me. I'm just letting go, and I was hardly even conscious when that was going on. I didn't really know what was going on until I watched it, and I said, "Whoa, there's something amazing going on here."
Because people thought you were just maybe smoking a little something before, and that it was you were just enjoying. But I love the fact and that you've been able to use this. It wasn't exploiting yourself. You don't even see your face. It's not like a lot of the other videos, and you have a message and you continue 5 years later with this message, and it's a positive one. It's just amazing.
Barry, do you feel like you have to do another video, or this one's just going to ride its way into the sunset?
I make videos every day. That was my 200th video. I was commanded to do that a long time ago and not stop. I'm documenting my life for my descendants and possibly my future self, because I kind of believe that when I'm done with this body, I'm still going to be able to watch those videos and say, look at how much fun I had.
Well, tell people where they can find you. Still on YouTube.
Well, you could just, watch the double rainbow video and then click on my username.
Awesome.
I publish videos every day.
All right. Well, we definitely will check out some more. And we'll
Thank you,
also
Bear.
link to you on our broadcast.com page.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Enjoy your day.
Have a good day.
All right, see you.
Bye. I think he's going to have a better day than the rest of us just because who he is. Jess, thank you so
you.
much for coming in.
It was so fun.
And tell SHUGGILIPPO is
Yep.
your YouTube channel, and then
Yep.
also a website.
yeah, same website.
SHUGGILIPPO,
Yeah,
which
And we'll-
must have been so hard to get that username.
Oh, it was.
that's the
I
domain.
had to pay premium. GoDaddy got all my money.
We'll link to all of your links on our website too. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
you,
and thanks
guys.
for listening, and we will see you next week.
we think we will.
Yes, we will.